Sunday, January 10th, saw the passing of a pop music icon. David Robert Jones, or as he's more commonly known, David Bowie, succumbed to lung cancer after an 18-month battle. His earliest musical influences came when his father brought home a collection of 45 records, and he was exposed to the likes of Elvis Presley and Little Richard. After a string of failed bands throughout the early to mid-60s, he needed a change, and his name was the first to go, as the name Davy Jones caused some confusion with the youngest member of the Monkees. This prompted him to rename himself after the famed 19th century explorer Jim Bowie and his knife. In 1967, he began to study dance and avant-garde theater, which gave him the idea of creating a persona, and by 1972, Ziggy Stardust was born, and Bowie took to the stage in his now famous sparkling costumes and dyed red hair. The album The Rise and Fall of Ziggy Stardust and the Spiders from Mars soon charted, and the glam rock era began. This only lasted a year or so, and as can be seen throughout his career, his style changed frequently. The latter part of the 70s saw him influenced by the German music scene, and he released 3 albums in what's now known as the Berlin era, where he was influenced by groups like Kraftwerk. He also released my favorite Christmas song, the Peace on Earth Little Drummer Boy duet on Bing Crosby's last special. The 80s ushered in his new wave and pop eras, with songs like Cat People, the very popular Just Dance, and my personal favorite, his duet with Queen on Under Pressure. Let's take a moment to appreciate the vocal stylings of Freddie Mercury and David Bowie.
Pressure pushing down on me, pressing down on you, no man has fall.
In the 90s, David switched styles yet again, beginning to experiment with electronic music, and by 1996, he was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. He also made contributions to several soundtracks, including Showgirls and even the Rugrats movie. Bowie was also known for his occasional forays into the acting world, with performances as Nikola Tesla in The Prestige, Pontius Pilate in the very controversial The Last Temptation of Christ, and my personal favorite as the Goblin King Jareth in Jim Henson's Labyrinth. Before we send it over to Ahmed with an update on fitness and nutrition, let's take a moment to remember how David turned our world around.
Everything I've done for you.
Our youngest generations are benefiting from the fitness trends and their influence. So where does that leave the rest of the world? Focusing on aging adults, and those of us of a generation that were only just getting to taste the importance of fitness. Pulsating electroshock devices like this one, which claim to tone your abs, or the sauna belt, which promised to burn off that excess fat. All it's really doing was burning off the excess water weight from one area. A better option would be cardio, but that's just it. People are constantly looking for a quick fix, and there isn't one. So where does that leave us with wearable technology? No, that's not what I mean by wearable technology. I'm talking about things like the Fitbit Charge, Garmin's Vivo Smart, Jawbone's Up 2, the Move Now, Microsoft Band, or even Apple's iWatch. These devices have been rocking the fitness world, and why? What makes them so great or relevant? Basically, these devices are able to track your steps, and if you log onto your device through an app, you're able to log your daily calories, any other activities that you do, and honestly, most people complain about the fact that it takes a lot to have to sit there and log everything in. In fact, it takes a lot of fun out of the activities that they're trying to take part in. But the reality is that if you can just commit to a few weeks of tracking everything, it really will bring new light and new perspective to how you are taking care of yourself and your body, the food that you're eating, or the activities that you're doing. In fact, most people report that after having worn these devices for even just a few months, their activity levels have increased. And that's really what all this is about. Some of these devices even have the look of a basic watch, concealing all their other functions in a classic style. So again, there is something for everyone. This wearable technology does more than just calculate your steps or track your calories. Some of them actually monitor your heart rate or your sleeping habits. And why is that so important? Your heart rate is important because if you can manage to keep your heart rate at just the right level during a workout, you're going to put yourself at the optimum caloric burn, and that is important for results. As far as your sleeping habits, most of us know that we do not get enough sleep, but once you actually get to see it firsthand, you're going to understand how to better assess your life and make it so that you are actually doing better for yourself and getting enough sleep every night. All in all, this wearable technology is just great. It does so many wonderful things for you, so don't be afraid to give it a try.
Hi, Welcome to AHMAD'S Craft Corner, where I find you, our viewers, some of the best in arts and crafts on the internet. In fact, if your legs are feeling a bit cold, why not try adding some pom-poms? It's a great way to dress up any outfit.
Thanks, Galliano. Now everybody's putting pom-poms on their legs. Don't you know that they don't understand the difference between runway avant-garde and ready-to-wear? We must educate them.
I also found these wonderful lobster stencils, which make great trendy tees. Why not make one for yourself or your friends?
Okay, I don't necessarily want a lobster tee for myself, but this is a much better way to translate runway avant-garde into a ready-wear garment.
Oh, I do love microstations. If only somebody would make a crab stencil. Wouldn't it be nice if we all had crabs? If you love music as much as I do, you'll find these piano garments in perfect harmony with your wardrobe. I really must order some of these. I could just see me now playing with myself all day.
There is something definitely wrong with you. This inspiration comes to us from Moschino, and Agatha Ruiz de la Prada also gave it a go in this grand piano dress. And then we have the young contemporary versions like this one from Nelu.com.
Lastly, I found these wonderful little crochet dolls for you and your children. It's a great way to teach them about childbirth and how they came into this world. It comes complete with detachable umbilical cord and placenta. Where do they come up with these things? It's like childbirth, only better.
Do you find this as disturbing as I do? I want to believe that there are more ways than this to teach our children about pregnancy. I mean, you can get these already made, get a kit so that you can make one yourself, or get one in fabric. I mean, what happened to good old sex ed? Oh, that's right, parents opted out of that. Instead, let's pass along the birthing doll. Yeah, because that seems like a good idea. Remember this? Yeah, no.
On Tuesday, January 12th, President Obama gave his final State of the Union address from the House of Representatives chamber. Less time was spent this year on featuring big centerpiece proposals around specific issues, and more on where our country needs to be over the next 5 to 10 years. President Obama focused on 4 central issues. 1, how to bring equality to our economy. 2, how to make technology work for us rather than against us. 3, how to keep America safe without policing the world. And 4, how to improve our political process. And once again, his wry sense of humor made several appearances throughout the evening.
And for this final one, I'm going to try to make it a little shorter.
In a sign of the current environment, it was very obvious that partisan politics are alive and well, as applause and standing ovations were often divided by political parties. Although I consider myself a progressive, I didn't agree with everything the president said. It's nice to throw out there that we'll cure cancer, but that's been used in entirely too many states of the Union. And with there being so many forms of cancer, it's not likely we'll find some silver bullet that will cure all forms anytime soon. I'm also not sure I agree with pushing Congress to authorize action in the Middle East, nor that the Trans-Pacific Partnership is all it's cracked up to be. But as a whole, it was a rousing speech and a great bookend to Obama's presidency. It covered many of the changes made over the last 7 years, from the Affordable Care Act to the restoration of diplomatic relations with Cuba, from the payoff of our investment in clean energy like wind power to the recovery of our economy from the Great Recession.
Let's bring this to order here.
And yet he highlighted that despite having only a year left, he's not done. He will continue working to give small businesses and the middle class a fighting chance to share in our growing economy and to have their voices heard politically. And we may not cure cancer, but he will continue working to get us closer to curing HIV/AIDS and eradicating malaria. You don't have to agree with everything President Obama says or does, but I hope Americans will remember that he has earned our respect.
Take the good, you take the bad, you take them both, and there you have the facts of life.
As a brief homage to the late Alan Rickman and an inspiration to actors everywhere, Alan was 41 when he co-starred in his first major movie role, Die Hard, and 53 when he was featured alongside Tim Allen in Galaxy Quest. As Tim would say, never give up, never surrender. Imagine this, a Subway-style restaurant for pizza. And it's becoming a reality as Pieology is taking the U.S. by storm.
Look for one near you, and by all means try them out. They're amazing.
Not everyone dreams in color.
In fact, 12% of people dream in black and white.
Haven't they heard of the Technicolor Revolution?
Apparently not. Walt Disney World is the second largest purchaser of explosives in the U.S. next to the Department of Defense. Are these princesses starting a glitter war?
Anatodyphobia is the unusual fear that somewhere, somehow, A duck is watching you. How many people have to fear something before it gets a name?
It really doesn't make any sense to me. Speaking of birds, a young girl by the name of Gabby has been feeding crows next to her house for many years, and apparently the crows have been leaving her gifts. After she puts out the food and the trays have been emptied, the birds will bring back anything from shiny rocks to pieces of broken jewelry, really whatever they can find.
Why don't you bring me any shiny rocks or broken pieces of jewelry?
Because I'm not a crow.
According to avid birdwatcher Candace Savage, crows are actually able to play practical jokes on each other. They're quite intelligent.
They really are. In fact, we've got a bird bath in our yard, and I once saw a crow bring a piece of ramen, put it in the bird bath, and then come back later to have soup. That's crazy smart for a bird.
On a darker note when it comes to animals, during the 18th century, people going to the zoo in London could pay their admission with a dog or a cat as food for the lions. Wow.
That's crazy. Could you imagine the social media outrage that would brew today? Yikes.
The Spanish national anthem has no words, while the Greek national anthem has 158 verses.
Oh my goodness. I can barely remember the words to the American anthem. You won't catch me trying to learn the Greek one anytime soon.
This is Jason
And Ahmed,
signing off. No, you learned the Greek one.
There's no way. I can barely figure out the American one.
Well, there's no way I'm going to get 158 verses.
Whatever.
Hey guys, welcome back to week 3, and we're keeping the videos coming.
And make sure you keep coming back too.
And as always, you'll find links to the topics we discussed in the description below.
And if there's something you want to see us talk about, just let us know.
And don't forget, click subscribe.
As always, subscribe, guys.
Right down here, tiny little
Thanks
button.
so much. Ciao.